Muhammad tortured a man for money. Muhammad tortured a man for money. This named Kinna, who knew where some money was hidden, and he refused to tell Muhammad after Muslims had won the battle against his town. Here's what happens. When Muhammad asked him about the rest, he refused to produce it. So they knew this man knew where the money was hidden, and he wouldn't tell them where the rest of the money was hidden. When Muhammad asked him about the rest, he refused to produce it. So the apostle gave orders to Al-Zubair bin al-Awam, torture him until you extract what he has. So he kindled a fire with flint and steel on his chest until he was nearly dead. Then the apostle delivered him to Muhammad bin Maslama, and he struck off his head in revenge for his brother Mahmud, who had been killed in the battle. So think about this. Muhammad wants to know where some money is hidden, and Muhammad doesn't have any international rules for correct conduct in the aftermath of war. And so what does he have his followers do? Light a fire on this man's chest to burn him and torture him until he tells where the money is hidden. So according to Muhammad, in the example which, according to the Quran, is the ultimate moral example for Muslims to follow. That's Surah 33, verse 21 of the Quran. Muhammad is the pattern of conduct that Muslims are supposed to follow. You can torture a man to extract information from him. You can torture him in the most brutal ways, and then when you've gotten what you want, you can chop off his head in revenge for other Muslims who've been killed at the hands of the unbeliever.
Assalamu alaikum and hello to my non-Muslim viewers. David Wood, the same David Wood who tried to kill his father with a hammer and was put into a mental hospital by his mother, says that the Prophet Muhammad tortured some person named Kinna ibn al-Rabi for some treasure. And he cites this book, The Life of Muhammad, translation of Ibn Ishaq Sirah Rasulullah by Al-Fakir. Now I'm going to be trying to make this video as short as possible, so I'm just going to be getting to the point right now. So the page he cites is Ibn Ishaq page 515 to page 515, where where it says the apostle gave orders that the ruins was to be exaggerated, and some of the treasures was found. When he asked him about the rest, he refused to produce it, so the apostle gave orders to Zubair ibn al-Awam, torture him until you extract what he has. So he kindled a fire with flint and steel on his chest until he was nearly dead. Then the apostle delivered him to Mahmud ibn Maslama, and he struck off his head in revenge for his brother Mahmud. So basically, reading from this book, I'm looking at the first sentence, and it just says the rest of the affair of Khyber, and then it just says Kinna bin Rab, who was the custody of the treasure of Bani al-Nadir, yada yada yada. So basically, this story starts without any kind of isnad or chain of transmission. Now, in Islam and any kind of hadith, you need a chain of transmission to verify whether that story or hadith about the Prophet Muhammad or any other figure in Islam, whether it's authentic or not. So Islam is the only religion that has a chain of transmission, reliable chains of transmission going back to figures of Islam, not just the Prophet, but Abu Bakr, Umar, Khattab, Uthman, etc., etc. So, anyways, when looking at this story, the beginning of the story, there's no chain of transmission for the story. There's no isnad for the story. So this story can be tossed out. The story is false because there's no chain of transmission for it. So we don't know how Ibn Ishaq got the story. We don't know if he collected it from unreliable narrators or reliable narrators. There's no chain of transmission for it. So it would be like this. It would be like me going on CNN, me becoming a reporter and going on CNN and saying, well, there's this alien spaceship crashed in New York, and when you say what my sources are, when people question me what my sources are, I don't give any answer. I just say, well, there's a spaceship and it crashed in New York. Now, do you think anybody in their right mind would believe me when I say that there's a spaceship that crashed in New York? If I'm on CNN, if I say that. If I said that without any kind of sources, CNN would fire me like within the next few minutes, because that's ridiculous. You need a lot extraordinary pieces of extraordinary claims require extraordinary pieces of evidence. So this story about the Prophet Muhammad, as sensational and brutal as it is, it needs evidence to support that it's true or not. So there's no evidence that it's true. There's no chain of transmission. There's no source for the story. So regardless, David Wood always cites from this book, The Life of Muhammad, translation of Ibn Ishaq Rasulullah by Ishaq Page, and this whole source is weak anyways. It's not reliable anyway. So David Wood is just quoting a weak source anyways. So basically that story is false. Now, why was Kinna ibn al-Rabi, why was he executed? He was executed because, first of all, he was a warmonger, and second of all, he actually killed somebody. He killed Muslims and stuff. So in Islam, and not just Islam, but in the Old Testament and in the Bible, because Jesus says in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5 verse 17 that I'm not come to destroy the law but to fulfill the law. So Christians, in 1 Timothy also says that all scripture is inspired, so Christians can't use that it's the Old Testament, that's the Old Covenant. No, according to the New Testament, the Old Testament laws are still binding. But anyways, according to the Bible, there's something called eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, etc., etc. So the reason why Kinna ibn al-Rabi was killed was because he was a warmonger. That's the first thing, and the second was he actually killed Muslims. So the Muslims just retaliated or gave him a just punishment for his actions. So Kinna ibn al-Rabi wasn't just killed for because he was hiding some money or some treasure or because he was greedy. No, he was a warmonger. He was a war criminal. That's the whole thing behind it, and that whole story is found in Sunan Abu Dawud, which I'll be posting the exact reference below. So that's the whole story behind the Kinna ibn al-Rabi. There's no that story of Prophet Muhammad torturing him for money or ordering people torture him for money is found in this book, The Life of Muhammad, translation of Ibn Ishaq Rasulullah by Ishaq Page, and that whole story is weak. It's a weak story, or there's no chain of transmission for that story, so that story is false. So this completely refutes that idea about Kinna ibn al-Rabi. Stay tuned for some more videos refuting Neil, who runs the Don't Convert It to Islam YouTube channel, which I'm going to be refuting one other video of his, and I'm going to be done with him for good. I'm not going to be addressing him anymore, and then I'll be making more videos, and then I'll talk about the future of this channel and where this channel is going. So stay tuned, some good videos ahead. Thanks a lot.